And we're live. We are live. We are live on YouTube and our Facebook page. And also, this will be the usual audio podcast. This is On the Time Lash Christmas show. Here's the titles. Yes, here we are. It is. Welcome to the On the Time Lash Christmas show. I'm Ben. Mark, hello, me old pal, and mate, me old pal, me old mate, me old buddy. Mark, how are you doing?
Not bad. I thought I died for a second there with all those photos coming up on the screen there.
I was making that little video, thinking, this will be a laugh, and it does look like we died in a ski accident, and this is the video that our families quickly put together for the memorial. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if this ever happens again. But it's happening right now until we decide that. Mark, how you doing?
I'm not bad. I've started on the whiskey and the Christmas chocolates already. Delicious. Whitaker's Black Cherry Queens, if they're watching, send them my way, mate.
Did you get them deliberately because Whitaker's Doctor Who connection?
No, I got them because they're fucking delicious. Basically, but no.
We need no more explanation. And we've got far more viewers. We've got far more viewers than we ever thought. And it's a great mate. It's a great mate. It's Paul McAvoy. Lads. Hello, Paul. You cheeky sausage that you are. How you doing, Mark? Merry Christmas, even though
Merry Christmas.
Just some bad news.
Sorry? Have I had some bad news?
No. Just because you received some bad news with the old shitey lockdown thing being in there.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. So I'm in ground zero for the new trendy strain of COVID's, more infectious than the last. So I thought, but I'm not going to be miserable. I was never going to go home to my family anyway. Because they're lovely. So no, it's fine. It's all right, and hopefully spread some Christmas cheer to our at least 3 viewers.
Yes, we saw Paul. Have. We saw Paul. Michael Sweeney watching on YouTube. And Millie, hi guys, is watching on YouTube as well. Sorry, I changed the banners there because it looks better this way than it does with the other ones. So that's a bit of banner fiddleage. So yeah, this is it. This is our Christmas on the Time Lash episode. It's an experiment for us. We do the podcast, hundreds of episodes, and Deborah's here. Yeah, mate. We are nice hats. They are nice hats, mate. And Andrew Shaw. Hello, Andrew, mate. Yes, there we are. God, this is taking me aback. Far more people than I thought was going to show up for this. Showed up for this. Oh, and look who's here. Oh, here he is. Here he is, mate. Here he is. How are you doing?
Zestial filmmaker himself is in the stream. Fantastic.
So yeah, we thought we would try something a little bit different. Do this little live Christmas show. I loved your comment, Mark, a couple of weeks ago on Twitter, which is the great thing about the digital age is you can just commission yourself for a Christmas special. That's exactly what we've done.
And we've been commissioned, much like Mrs. Brown's Boys, until at least 2026. So,
yeah.
Happy days.
License to print money. So tell us, what are we doing? What are we doing on our Christmas episode?
What are we doing? We're discussing Thin Ice, which is appropriately festive, I think. At the Frost Fair in London, and we're pairing that with Fury from the Deep because they're both sort of Doctor Who stories which aren't. There's monsters, but they're not aliens
Yes.
Probably. There's a bit of ambiguity as to, are these earthbound creatures that we've not yet discovered, or are they actual proper aliens? So that was the thinking there. I suppose the other thing about Fury from the Deep is that some people might find it under their tree this Christmas, because obviously the Blu-ray was out a few months back of the animated reconstruction, which I'm sure we will discuss as well later on. Or if anybody's read my review of it from a few months back, you'll have heard it all before, so I apologise in advance.
Shite, I think, was the gist of the review. Shite, what's the point? Next. I think that was it. I think that was the full text of the review. So
I love how last week you're like, you're such a great writer. You really sort of try and find the positives and things. And then this week is like, shite, wasn't it? That's all you said. That's what your review amounted to, you bastard.
Hated it. You had accompanied it with a picture of you just lobbing it straight in the bin, didn't you? Yeah, that was.
Yeah, on Botany Bay.
So yeah, that's. Shall we do it? Shall we get straight into it? Shall we begin with the new Who watch through in Thin Ice? Shall we get straight in?
Let's go.
Let's bloody do it, mate.
Yeah,
All right, okay. Well, hold on. Wait, so if we're going to do it, we're going to do it properly. And this is where we have a little jingle interstitial. There you go. Okay. Thin Ice was written by Sarah Dollard and directed by Bill Anderson. It was broadcast on Saturday, the 29th of April, 2017, and it was watched by 3.76 million overnight, but the consolidated went up to 5.61 million viewers. It was fourth in the ratings for that day, behind Britain's Got Talent, All Round to Mrs. Brown's, and Casualty. And it had an appreciation index of 84. So there's the stat.
Is that going to be every episode this series?
What did they
mention All Round to Mrs. Brown's?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was.
Okay.
I think they were on.
Good to know.
But that, of course, that's the stats. That's the paperwork out of the way. It is now time for the fun. And here we made another little video. Here it is.
Degsy's Where Did It Come game.
So we're playing Degsy's Where Did It Come game in the presence of Degsy himself. Degsy is watching. He's hopefully happy that Negative Ben is back, says Paul McAvoy. Okay, well, give them what they want. Yes, are all cunts. Right, there we are. Whoa, that's just getting banned off.
Merry Christmas.
Merry fucking Christmas. So yes, Degsy's Where Did It Come game.
Oh, it's your turn to go, isn't it? So Ben Worth.
Yes.
So I don't know why that took me by surprise there. We do this every time. Where do you think Thin Ice came out of 295? I think that's right, isn't it?
295.
In the big Doctor Who poll.
I love it. Bloody love it. Sorry, Paul. Negative Ben has been packed away in the suitcase for this segment, at least. I love Thin Ice. I hope it's high up. I'm going to go with something like 79. I'm going to go with 79.
79?
Yes, that's probably the moment I said it. I went, no, that is incorrect. And
interesting.
Enjoy your point, Mark, which you will definitely get. But
where are we at the moment?
I think
3-1 to me, isn't it?
Yeah, you're in the lead. You're in the lead. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. I like this. I don't think I'm as positive about it as you. I think it's perfectly enjoyable Doctor Who. And I'm starting to think that with Series 10, my initial kind of thoughts when we were coming up to this was it's kind of a water treading exercise, really, until the new team come along. And does that reflect the scores? Is it all going to be kind of middle of the road Doctor Who scores? I'm going to go lower. I'm going to go 139.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, I'm so happy the negative Mark is back.
So, before I open the golden envelope, if you would play the tune, please, Ben.
Oh yes.
Let's hope it's the right one.
This one.
a letter from Colin Baker. He's the dyslexia fun maker.
Nice. I was too busy fanning around with this. So, Merry Christmas, lads. In the poll, Thin Ice is frozen at number 133.
Ooh.
I know my series 10. I
Congratulations.
know my series 10.
Congratulations.
It sits between the Snowmen at 132 and one of my favourites, Robot, at 134. And so, are you ready for the first round of Christmas dicks, Ben?
I love a Christmas dick. Yes, please.
So, and the thing is, we can't do the thing that we usually do when we record these, which is spend about 20 minutes finding lines to read online. We're going to have to just do it live like that.
From that character.
You know?
Okay. Hopefully it's been good to us.
So, I, the Dexestial Funmaker, require you to give me your best impression of the Empress of the Rachnos.
Oh, okay.
So, I didn't watch the Runaway Bride live tweet last night, so I'm a bit behind. But it's oh god.
No, it's something. It's quite throaty. It's quite like she's got a bit. It's like, why are you killing my children? It's like,
that was Syl, wasn't it?
Yeah. My children. No, it's quite this unarticulation there in the mouth. It's my children. Okay, do you know what?
That was good. I liked that last one. That last one was good, I thought.
Well, we can work out if one of us has won or not. Derek has the ability.
Yeah, Derek has the ability to tell us who's the best one live.
Yes.
Right now. All right. Okay. So I'll probably just do the same line. Although she does kind of have that bit. She goes, "Doctor Man," but that was borderline racist. I'm not going to do that again.
That was Papa Lazarou. Let's be honest about that. You're my doctor now. Forget it. Do you know what? Forget it.
Let's get us cancelled. My children. That was also
me
bordering on Papa Lazarou. It's going well. It's going well.
Oh, all right. We got a comment. It's not from Derek. Deborah, seeing this live is truly something.
It's certainly something.
You're telling, and I haven't even started drinking yet, so you should both be ashamed of yourselves. Oh, we are, mate. We are.
Regularly. I don't need a fucking podcast to do that.
We've been ashamed of ourselves, 108 episodes so far. So whilst we're waiting for Derek to tell us who was the best, unless he's went, fuck this isn't for me, and went to the bathroom.
Yeah, fair enough.
Let's do it. What are we drinking? What are we drinking for Thin?
I'm drinking no, I'll tell you where it's from in the next half of the podcast, but I'm drinking a peach flavored porter.
Well, I hope it tastes good, because what I'm going to be drinking is the sweet taste of victory. Is what old Benny's going to be drinking. Yes, mate.
I mean, that's fair. You definitely won that, and I think you've won.
I had 3 attempts at it. I had a run up. So,
no, so I've gone for a peach porter because it felt. I don't know. It felt kind of Victorian and Christmassy and festive. So that's what I'm drinking. And it's very, very delicious. It is too.
Peach porter sounds like somebody that hosts something on BBC Three. Sounds like a presenter.
What is that face you're making while you're opening that bottle of wine?
Trying to open my bottle. I got some Smirnoff Ice for.
That takes me back.
For Thin Ice, and the top wasn't playing ball there, so let's just decant that guy. There you are. Just sounds good. So here's to you, Mark, and here's to all of you at home.
Yes, Merry Christmas to all of you at home. And speaking of all of you at home, it's listener correspondence.
Yes, please. Right, hold on. Got 4 different things here. Right, listener correspondence. Thin Ice, let's go.
Paul McAvoy. Thin Ice is another, yep, that's a Doctor Who story.
Paul.
Impossible to be called anyone's favourite, but standard enough to trudge along without offending anyone too much. Its brazen attitude to casting was a bit controversial at the time, and I can see why, but if there's a Doctor Who hill to die on, it's not this one. Yeah. Deborah also, I think, Deborah's also with us. That's great. And Ben's
worked out. I can
kind
do
of
this.
creeping up behind Deborah in a quite upsetting manner.
I'm going to pretend I'm reading it.
Deborah says, this might be my favourite of Series 10. It's a great character study and a decent historical. It might not say anything new about the Doctor, but it feels like it's been told in a different way, undercutting the Doctor's arrogance by having him jeopardise the plan by, yes, punching a racist for insulting his dear student and companion. That felt both modern and completely obvious. Bill is brilliant and her costume is stunning. They're such a wholesome team. Even the fish doesn't bother me anymore. Sorry, I wanted to say something more than I love it. So another one in the positive camp there. Dylan Reese, much like Smile, Thin Ice is a much simpler story than the previous Moffat seasons have offered, and I quite enjoyed the change of pace. Plenty of scares and laughs, plus the Doctor punching a racist is both poignant and hilarious. We've come so far from the 10th Doctor and all his pompous white privilege telling Martha to walk around like she owns the place. When this came out, people kept claiming this was the new series' first historical. Excuse me, did you all miss the massive monster under the water? Yeah, I remember that discussion at the time as well.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a proper Doctor Who historical. And on that subject, J.R. Southall loved Thin Ice, the closest the modern series has ever got to doing a proper good old-fashioned historical story. Is it? Obviously, it still has a monster, but the creature is shown to be of the natural world, and the real villain of the piece is a human being. Plus, who doesn't cheer when the Doctor punches the racist? The recreation of 1814 is tremendous. And I think finally, is it... yes, Jeff Waddle. I thought he was here. Thin Ice has lots of good ideas and lots of good moments, yet somehow the sum is lesser than the component parts. A monster swims away at the end. Yay. And finally, is it Luke from Lost on Gallifrey? Yes.
Sure is.
A great story for a new companion. The screwdriver thing feels a bit laboured. The Doctor literally has a pot of them back at university. I'm not too sure why he'd be so arsed about saving it from the doomed kid.
Thought exactly that thing. Thought exactly.
But it leads to a good scene. And apart from that, this is a real hoot.
It sure is. And to celebrate, going to change our background. We're at the Frost Fair, Mark. Here we are.
Lovely stuff. Going to eat whatever the hell, that arsehole or something the Doctor's eating. So is it a barbecued rectum or something? It doesn't look particularly
None of it.
appetizing. He's fucking binned his vegetarianism, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Since the two Doctors.
Unless it was like a vegan's arsehole or something. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think of this? Because I think I'm going to be very one note. I really enjoyed this.
Okay.
Was it the best? Probably not. But you seemed like you had a bit more of a analysis of this to give.
Yeah.
No. All right, cool. Well, this is going to be a lot shorter than we thought it was going to be.
No, I mean, I think it's just one of those, I think much like Smile, it's perfectly enjoyable for the 45 minutes that you're watching it. And then at the end, I don't know if it kind of stays with me. I'd kind of forgotten quite a lot about it when returning to it. And I've already kind of forgotten a little bit about it between watching it this morning and now.
Wow. It's not even been a full day and you went, what happened again?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's for the first, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's the Doctor and Bill having a lovely time. And that's actually, I think, not to be sniffed at. I think there's certainly something quite refreshing after having the Doctor and Clara kind of, I guess, walking around like they own the place. There is something refreshing of the Doctor and the Doctor kind of taking Bill, to history and showing her history and allowing her to experience that. I think that's an absolute joy to watch. And I think that's probably actually really what the focus is here. It's a companion's first historical adventure.
Yeah.
With a big fish in it. Basically.
Yes. Yeah.
And a racist.
Yeah, it felt like. Do you know what it reminded me of? Do you remember that? Do you remember that Torchwood episode, which was all about? Was it called Meat? I think the episode was called.
Oh
Meat.
yes, right, yes.
And it was just like a big. Wasn't it like a big slug in a warehouse, and they were just carving meat out of it, bits out of it, to provide meat for the world. It felt like that episode, but done. I mean, actually, so sorry. Bobby Cook has just put up a comment. Bobby. This to me feels like the most standard RTD-esque Doctor Who the Moffat ever got, and I kind of agree with that, and I kind of agree it was like it was a mix of that and that Torchwood episode.
Sure, yeah.
You know, that's but instead of the meat, it's bricks of shite, bricks of fish shite.
I mean, that's funny. Don't get me wrong. That is very funny when Bill picks up the brick.
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah, but we're miles away from the fish. It's like, well, we're miles away from its top end.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of really funny lines in this.
Yeah.
And I think that's the stuff that's kind of stayed with me more than the episode itself.
Well, as Deborah says, I would happily watch 100 more episodes of Bill and the Doctor just hanging out. And I think that's where we're all headed, I think, in terms of opinion.
Definitely. But I mean, you obviously have you love a historical, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of the Frost Fair as a historical thing. You know, like when pollution, thanks to pollution, we have these romantic images on Christmas cards. The enduring image of Christmas frozen over lakes. You know, people going out for walks on top of bodies of water, turning them into impromptu village squares, essentially, and it's all because of the Industrial Revolution. And I thought this was really well realized. It felt like a populated, real world. And I guess historicals are easier to do for Doctor Who because costumes exist, settings already exist. It's I obviously found this a bit more believable than previous week, The World of Smile, but because it's set in the future on an Earth colony, there is so much to try and imagine and budget for, whereas this, like, historicals are always I think more my thing, or Earth-based stories as well. And yeah, I think more than any of the incident, I loved the character moments, the dynamic between the Doctor and it's all stuff that we've heard before. It's all conversations that the characters have had before in various guises. We don't really learn anything new. It's just done really well and with a conviction, which has been missing from the series. Like a real life conviction rather than a kind of earnest fiction, which I feel a lot of the Doctor and Clara stuff was. It was a kind of romantic, fictional kind of relationship, where this does feel like it's a real relationship. I absolutely love the moment where it's in the pre-titles as well, when Bill says this is 1814, there's still racism, and Capaldi turns around and gives this kind of his kind of like face just collapses, like, shit, I didn't realize that. Yes it is. And without over-egging the pudding, without overstating anything, it's just a great moment. And I don't know, I love the joke about that's what Pete said.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes in the whole thing. I think that's great. Because I think it's just a really nice window into their relationship at this quite early stage.
Yeah. Is
that, sure, the Doctor's taken on this role of a teacher, but he's still having a bloody good laugh at the same time.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what their relationship is. And actually, I suppose I say at this early stage, the pilot covers quite a large period of time, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
So actually, they've not necessarily been traveling together for very long, but they've certainly been together for a while.
Yeah. And Bobby Cook, very simple, but still very enjoyable. And yeah, I think it is. And it's the simpler moments that I enjoy. I mean, there's a lot of things that you have to suspend your disbelief for. The TARDIS wouldn't let them leave, materializes, they try to leave, brings them back again. There's some trouble here, but it waits its sweet time until they're dressed and out of the TARDIS before it suddenly appears on the scanner screen that there's a life form detected. It lets them let them out, let them have a walk around, let them try and investigate before I let on. Oh, they're gone. I can't. It's Merriman. I love that. And I mean, this is what this is going to be for me. What did I love? Just loads of things. Yeah, I mean, there's the stakes aren't massive. It's a story we've seen told, like, there's elements of Pyramids of Mars, there's elements of the Unquiet Dead, there's elements of every past, the trip into the first trip into the past that companions do in all previous iterations of Doctor Who.
There's also that kind of more political edge that you would get in the sort of Letts and Dix era as well, in kind of talking about like how you measure a society's progress is in the way that they value a human life.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. And the fact that the villain is an incredibly racist businessman who's just out for himself. It's interesting that this went out in 2017. I don't know what could possibly have influenced that particular character choice in the writing.
There was some chat about that.
I guess that just disappears into history, I suppose.
Where are we? Sorry, Millie has said, and Peter looks gorgeous in his costume.
He does.
Bobby agrees. So,
yeah, the top hat's great.
The costumes are great. The costumes are amazing.
Because I remember when this was filming, there was that image. I think somebody had like looked out the window, and Peter Capaldi was kind of just filming Doctor Who in that kind of full sort of Victorian garb with a top hat, and I think there's like a photo of him kind of doffing the hat to the person taking the photo. And I was like, that's great. Like, what great. Is that like the new costume? Is that like a new variation of the costume? But yeah, it's just kind of time appropriate. I like the idea that the 12th Doctor dresses up to blend in a bit. Like, he's not just cutting about in his big coat and hoodie.
Yeah.
Like, he properly sort of like gets a proper nice frock coat and a top hat, and yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it is. And again, going back to this idea that the TARDIS wouldn't let them leave, so there's obviously some danger. He, like, instead of earnestly going, all right, we need to solve it so we can go, there's obviously something here. The TARDIS is very definitely in tune that there is something amiss. Hold on while I go and get changed for the first time. For the first time in because incarnations never. So when I think, like, John Pertwee put on a boiler suit and a helmet in Doctor Who and the Silurians.
And he puts on his his big kind of wetsuit thing in the Sea Devils when he goes out on that.
But there's not a lot of
the end, but
there's not a lot of Doctors changing. Like, none of the 80s Doctors. Like, was it Colin Baker put on that rag in Mark of the Rani, put dog shit on his face? That's in the 80s, that was it. That's the only time they would allow the sullying of the costume for purposes of the story.
But costume being the operative word there, because that's what JNT's approach was, wasn't it? It was like, the Doctor has to have a costume. The companions have to have a costume.
Yeah,
they're not kind of clothes that people live in and wear on a day-to-day basis, and change on a day-to-day basis as well. But I think they've kind of set it up enough that certainly in the pilot where he changes his coat to do the big introduction to the TARDIS, that's great. Like, he clearly just likes a bit of dressing up.
Yeah, he likes to dress for the occasion.
Well, likes to dress down as well. Why not?
Was the last time before this 12 in his Victorian 90 in Deep Breath? Yeah, that might be it.
Oh, in
Unless
terms of like changing out of like what's the sort of the Doctor's look, as it were,
Yeah.
I guess. I guess also Kill the Moon wears the spacesuit, but and actually speaking of Kill the Moon, that's the one thing. Here's the thing. I know I was like, it's fine, it's enjoyable. I've got nothing to say. That's not quite true. I think this is actually quite a good retread of the themes of Kill the Moon, but dealt with in a softer and more palatable way. That
Yes.
the whole thing where like Bill kind of has to decide whether they save the fish or destroy the fish, because, well, what if the fish, starts to freeze up, all left, right, and center, and just sort of start destroying communities. I said, yeah, but it's just a fish, though, isn't it? Like, it's a life that needs to be saved. And the Doctor's kind of whole, I serve at your convenience sort of thing. It's utter bollocks because, we've been watching the show for like 54 years by this point, and that's very much not what the Doctor does. The Doctor makes the decision. But it's at least dealt with a lightness of touch that I think Kill the Moon it felt jarring and weird when he does it in Kill the Moon. Whereas here, I think because it's in the early stages of a companion relationship, you can kind of get away with doing that again. But because the Doctor himself is kind of softened by that point as well, you're a bit like, oh, okay, he's kind of testing his companion to see what decision they would make. All right, I get that. That's fair enough. I can live with that. I just thought that was interesting. It kind of hit me this time around that actually that's what this is kind of doing. It's kind of going back over those themes.
Yeah, it is. There is a lot. There is a lot thematically in terms of look, in terms of character interactions that we've seen before. And I've said this before a couple of times as we've gone through the later series, that you kind of feel like Doctor Who is beginning to repeat itself. But here, it feels very breezy greatest hits rather than and maybe in the case of the themes of Kill the Moon, done better, like rewritten specifically to be greatest hits.
Well, I've said this before as well, like that. I mean, I know this is Sarah Dollard's script, but the Moffat era, there is a lot of times where it will revisit things and try and sort of do them in a slightly more nuanced way or a slightly more palatable way. And I think this is one of those times. It's maybe not deliberate. It's maybe absolutely not deliberate at all. But it did seem, it stood out to me this time around. I don't know if it's just because we've been watching the Capaldi era in this kind of consolidated COVID period where we've kind of been watching them pretty much once a week.
Yeah. How did you like this compared to Face the Raven?
I much preferred it. So Face the Raven, I loved at the time, and then when we watched it for this, there's not really much to it, really. I didn't really enjoy it. Whereas this, I think it's incredibly enjoyable. Like I say, there is a suggestion of sort of political themes and issues and stuff being dealt with. But it's, I mean, again, I suppose much like Face the Raven, there's a location that's utilized beautifully. And I think a lot of it's on location, but there's some set work and stuff like that as well. And I think it all fuses together really seamlessly. So yeah, I think Sarah Dollard, I find it odd that she's not come back during the Jodie Whittaker era.
I think he just wanted a sweep.
Bit, but then I think it's just Chibnall wanting to do a kind of new sweep, isn't it?
Yeah. And also, isn't it more team-based as well?
I think there's a writer's room, isn't there, that kind of spitball ideas, and then it's like, well, okay, you can do that one, you can do this one. That kind of thing, isn't it?
Doctor Who is one of these strange shows where certain key members of the production staff, up until the Chibnall start of the Chibnall era, key members of the production staff are as celebrity announcements in the same way the celebrities who are actually going to appear in the show. So I wonder if there was a choice not to bring back any established writers because, you know, it's a bit of a come down to go from this is entirely my vision. This is entirely my presentation to Doctor Who. I'm not working with a bunch of other people like it's live.
And I wonder, I don't want, you know, I hate people that do this with Moffat and RTD, so I'm about to bloody do it with Moffat and Chibnall. I don't really mean to, but I think it's maybe something to mention now that we can come back to when we do come to those episodes. Is that why I think we both find the kind of current run leaves us cold quite often? Is there a lack of authorship? Is there a lack of kind of identity in the script writing because it's kind of come out of a writer's room rather than that kind of more authored?
Nah, because the episodes that are very definitely authored, i.e. the Chris Chibnall ones, are shite. Like the best ones are the ones that are not written by him. And yeah, they're right. Maybe they're not. But we don't really know those writers, you know. Like we don't.
And actually, to be honest, I'm maybe just talking about my ass because actually, I think one of my favorites is It Takes You Away, and that definitely does feel like the work of a singular writer. But then he goes on to write Orphan 55, and they both feel like completely different stories. So I don't know. Maybe I am on something. We'll find out.
Oh God, was it
in a few months' time?
Right. Anyway, yes, enough. We always disappear down this hole.
Yeah.
We're talking about Thin Ice. But again, I feel this is because Thin Ice is it's just a very breezy slice of Doctor Who. It is so I mean Paul would often describe it as and I think he did in this correspondence is meh. That's a Doctor Who. And I'd agree with that. But I'd go, this is one of those Doctor Who's where if you're just looking for a Doctor Who vibe, you want to watch something, you don't know, you want something that's fairly representative, this is the one to go for. Something like The Bells of St. John. Doesn't really matter if they're good or not, though I would say they both are good.
Mm-hmm.
I think like you just want to watch some Doctor Who. This is quite a Doctor Who 101.
Yeah, it is. It is. I had a thought there, and I completely have now popped out my head. This is the problem with doing this live.
Yeah, the beauty of this is that we could like fuck around for ages, and you'd edit that out. But now we just sit and stare at each other until one of us thinks of something to say.
Fuck. It's gone. Oh no, I know what I was going to say. It's Christmas. Yeah. It's Christmas time. Did you feel a kind of seasonal vibe while watching this?
I can't believe that you forgot that when both of us.
It was Christmas. Whilst wearing a Santa
hat on, you've got a Santa hat. You've got chocolatey Christmas chocolates in front of you.
It's because Christmas is cancelled, Ben. That's why I've completely forgotten.
Of course it is.
Right in my head.
Did I have a Christmassy vibe? Yeah, I did. I mean, there's this attempt to reclaim or to claim The Unquiet Dead, which went out in middle of April as a Christmas special that the Ninth Doctor never had. I'd go as far as to say I'd quite like to claim this as an additional 12th Doctor Christmas special because there's a nice Christmassy vibe to it, and I know. This has only recently been done in the Emily Cook Doctor Who Twitter watch-alongs?
Last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Because, I mean, I certainly felt it was quite seasonal. The kind of Dickensian ending of the kind of waifs and strays being given this massive feasts a la, A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, it had a very Charles Dickens vibe to it, didn't it?
Yeah, and obviously all the snow and the ice and the, all that kind of thing. And I suppose that it is very kind of Dickensy, isn't it? With the kind of the workhouse master and, with who, is not going to redeem himself by the end of it. He's going to get eaten by a big old fish.
Yes. Yeah.
That kind of thing. That's where it veers off Dickens and goes into, I don't know, Lovecraft or something. I don't know, but that's the magic of Doctor Who, isn't it? It's just that it kind of melds these disparate elements of kind of sort of Victorian workhouses and giant fish monsters that live under the Thames.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. Doctor
Which
Who
is
101.
such a non, like, it's a means to an end, that giant fish. It means nothing.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That's why there's like a bit of kind of back and forth. Like, ooh, is it an alien? Oh, who gives a fuck? But even if it wasn't an alien, there was no attempt for like I don't know, for it to be like a Silurian fish or something like that. Like they just they didn't care enough. It's a thing. It's gone. It's out there. Very much making the same kind of whale noises and having that kind of whale hero moment that you get at the end of Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. Like
The best Star Trek.
yeah, and so it's there's a lot of stuff that's been packed into this. It's a selection box of things that you like. Well, how about we bring it in, talk about things a bit more specifically that might focus us. Before we do, hi, Billy Kirkwood. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, Billy. Love from Scotland. That's nice. That's nice to have. I miss Scotland.
Millie, I have Christmas in the summer. I'm jealous of your winter Christmas, of course, because down the other side.
You say that, Millie, but it's mostly rain. We don't actually get any snow until about February or March, really, these days.
And then when we get to our summer, it's also mostly rain.
One of the best ever gags in Still Game is when they're in the corner shop singing Let It Snow, and they fucking open the door and it's just pissing it down with rain. And Jack goes, I'd kill for snow. It's amazing. It's one of the best ever gags.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's rain at Christmas. Basically.
It's shite.
I'm glad it's fucking cancelled.
What is your favorite scenes?
My favorite. I mean, I love the Pete stuff. I think that's really funny. It's such a nice kind of, because the whole butterfly effect thing. We've in Doctor Who, in all science fiction, we've seen it 100 times before, and I think that kind of feeds into the Doctor's own kind of humorous response to it. I think is great. It's just really fun. And Capaldi just sells it really beautifully as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's really good.
Yeah, I love the line. It's just time travel. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, that's really good.
Which is the whole. You apply that to all of Doctor Who as a single narrative entity. Look, a lot of stuff isn't going to make sense from episode to episode. Forget about it. Just.
Yeah. I mean, it makes us kind of redundant, I suppose. Forget about it. It's just stuff that happens in a Doctor Who episode. Just don't pay no mind. Just enjoy yourself.
It's something of the Sisyphean task that we're pushing a boulder up a hill in every episode of On the Time Lash. Thanks for joining us, guys.
The other thing, obviously, the punching a racist is brilliant. Not just because the Doctor punches a racist. I think it's just a really good bit of physical comedy. And just comedy in general. Just that kind of, the Doctor going, look, you need to behave yourself. We don't get angry with him. We need to get the information, and and that's that. And the minute he walks in and starts abusing Bill, it's just like, nah, that's out the fucking window. I'm punching this guy in the face. Yeah, great.
This isn't a delicate negotiation. This is just a racist man.
Was this around the time, or was it maybe? Does it No, I don't know. When somebody in the chat might know this. When did that viral video go around of Richard Spencer getting punched in the head? Because I don't know if that's just one of those kind of like weird coincidences, but I feel like punching Nazis was kind of around that time, because obviously Trump's now White House, and Richard Spencer is a kind of alt-right douchebag basically, and there was a video of him at some protest, and somebody just fucking goes up and punches him in the head. It's great. But yeah, sure. I just wondered if that was around this time, but it's not related to Doctor Who, politics, and YouTube. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting.
The build up to that moment is really well judged. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's one of my favorite scenes. I love Bill challenging the Doctor. How many have you killed people? How many people have you seen die? You really care? Again, stuff we've seen before. Like a ton of companions have said this to a ton of different Doctors.
A ton of doctors have said that to other doctors as well. You know,
Yeah,
Day of the Doctor, you know.
But it just feels like it's a nice attempt at reminding a new audience.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think I said this maybe when we did the pilot, that I think this series did make a kind of clear effort to try and reintroduce Doctor Who to a new audience in sort of, I guess, preparation for the new era.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it didn't seem to work because obviously this series had quite low ratings, I seem to remember. But
so does this.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, that's what I mean. This particular series, Series 10,
yeah,
has some quite low ratings, and I think that's maybe what necessitated the move to Sundays. But that's something we'll discuss in the future, I'm sure.
Sorry, just looking back on the page here. The episode received 5.61 million views overall, so consolidated, which made it joint with Sleep No More from the previous series as the lowest consolidated figures of the revived era of the show, until Oxygen 2 weeks later, which received 5.27 millions. So, yeah, but like watched on the night by 3.76 million, it was the fourth most watched program.
So I mean, it's true enough.
Behind three juggernauts, Britain's Got Talent, All Round to Mrs. Brown's. Imagine a man dressed as an old woman running a game show in her house. And Casualty.
Gordon Strachan's got Gordon Strachan and Deborah have answers to my Richard Spencer question.
Okay. It was definitely around the same time, but also I've condensed the last 4 years into one in my head. I don't even know what you're going to do with 2020, mate, because the moment we hit the 1st of January, I'm going to pretend that this fucking thing never happened. And anyway.
Deal with that. But that means you'll just be like, wait a minute, why is all this stuff happening in 2021?
Well, I'd rather have the first quarter of the year fucked with COVID and then the rest of it be fine than last year where we got like 2
January and February
months and then the rest of the year. And Gordon Strachan, no, not him. Looks like he got punched in January. I've done a cursory Google check, and looks like I got punched in January. But we kept watching it all year long. Hey, perfect.
Still watching it now. Still, Tim Heidecker, the American comedian, wrote a really lovely, moving song about it as well, which I would recommend checking out.
When we do the podcast version, which will just be the audio of this episode with a few extras, maybe we'll see if we can play.
Yeah, I've got the album somewhere. I'll stick it in. Yeah.
Favorite performances.
I mean, nobody really touches Peter Capaldi and Pearl Mackie in this, really, do they? You know, the kids aren't annoying. That's always a plus. I can't remember the name of the actor who plays the guy. I can't remember the guy's name.
The Lord Sutcliffe.
Lord Sutcliffe.
Sorry, I closed that page. Doctor fucking who? What's his name? Let me find out for you, because he's a pretty good comedian.
I thought I recognised him.
Nicholas Burns.
Nicholas Burns. Okay.
Burns. He was good, and not a lot of Nardole, which I am absolutely fine with. Because it's a different class, like the heavy emotional core that the Doctor and Bill are dealing with, and then this weird I know what you mean. You get at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I do prefer Russell T's approach to kind of arcs.
Yeah,
where it's like, I'll just bung in a word here or a newspaper front page there, rather than kind of derail an episode, and end it about 5 minutes earlier so that you can have loads of stuff like, ooh, what's in the vault? It's the Master. It's obviously the Master. I think it was the point that the knocking started. I think everybody was just like, oh, it's definitely the Master then. That's that.
Yeah, there was
you still have to wait another 4 weeks or something until you find out that that's who it is.
Yeah, something like that. There was all of that. Ooh, I think somebody said Is it Bernard Cribbins? I think I remember that because there was the
Poor old
knocking.
Bernard Cribbins. It's trapped inside a vault in the basement of a university.
Yeah, and then the next episode is called Knock Knock, isn't it? And I think everyone was like,
Yes.
"Oh, knocking! That's significant." 10 years ago, I think there was a lot of that.
Yes.
God bless us. We can
God
sniff out
blesses everyone.
shit. Doctor Who.
Well, seeing patterns and things like that aren't there, as the Eighth Doctor would say.
Well, that's us. So we're done. We're done with the old thin ice.
Yeah,
usually
5 minutes over. I think the sort of planned 45 minutes ish per episode.
We're going to try and do 45 minutes each. We'll see what happens. Yeah, this is our bloody Christmas special. Even Morecambe and Wise had to stop filming at 10 p.m. We don't. We can do whatever we want. Okay, right. We'll have a jingle, and then we'll come back, and we will be looking at Fury from the Deep.
Can I go and get another drink? I was expecting that to be longer.
Oh, okay. No, I thought we were just going straight through.
It's fine. My fridge is literally just there. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Hey, sorry, everybody. This is very unprofessional.
Hey, don't worry.
You want to get this in the Morecambe and Wise show. And also, because I'm in another part of the living room, you can't look at the shelves. Sorry.
Well, for everybody who's still with me, hello, my name is Ben, and I'm just going to change our banner. Where are we? I've got we're doing Fury from the Deep now, so I thought I'd have a little Fury background. Later on, we'll be heading into animation territory, but right now, and Patrick Troughton, in honor of his hat, I've also got my old bobble hat. I thought I'd put my old bobble hat on for the old Fury chat. So there. Hello, Mark. How are you?
Hey.
Hello, Mark. How are you?
That's a very nice hat you got there. I would like a hat like that.
Thanks, mate. Are you good? Are you all tooled up?
I'm tooled up.
Good. I'm still drinking my old Smirnoff Ice, but I've got something else for this as well. Well, while you're doing that, shall I crack on with the old stats?
Well, should we do a little bit of Christmas chat?
Oh, yes, please.
Because I thought it might be quite fun to talk about Doctor Who related Christmas presents, which I'm sure we've all had.
Okay.
And feel free to tell us in the chat if you've had any good or bad. Because I mean, I wouldn't say it was the worst Doctor Who Christmas present. It's certainly the strangest. Which is, I'm not going to wear it the whole way through. I'm already roasting in this jumper. A TARDIS dressing gown. There we go.
That is.
It's quite something, isn't it?
Yes, because because I got one, but it was just a Doctor Who. It was just a kind of vaguely blue kind of swirls one. But you are actually.
Yeah. Wendy's there. You know, right?
Windows are the wrong size.
St. John's ambulance badge there.
Yep.
Pull to open sign there. I mean, the pull to open sign's dangerously close to the crotch as well. So
there's something a bit sexy about the old pull to open sign.
I know, right?
Available for.
I'll wear it for the little Christmas session. Yeah,
You look good though. You look good.
Thanks. Very warm though. So apologies for the reddish face.
I quite like this badly drawn boy kind of. I should also say as well, I feel like I should just show my neck because the color of the
badly drawn boy. Sorry, badly drawn boy is one of those artists that I had completely forgotten had existed. But then the minute you mentioned him, it was just like, whoa.
Yeah, like I come
just all those memories were suddenly just returned to my head.
No, that was the guy. When was he? 15 years ago, I think his only record was out. But I don't know. But yeah, no, like it looks a bit like I'm wearing a black turtleneck, and I'm not. Not really. Yeah, I've just got that. I mean, like if there's this bit, and it's. I mean, basically, I have an unbroken thatch from pube to nostril. I think is what. It's the scoop that the OTTL listeners want to.
You use that line on stage, right? I'm sure I've heard you.
I sure do. Yeah.
Good.
But enough about me looking sexy AF. Oh, Mark, we're back to you. That's your Tinder profile right there, Mark.
Thankfully, I don't currently have to stoop to such levels. Although if I wear this for much longer, I may have to.
Does it smell? Is it that groiny smell? Like,
no, I wash it.
Okay. I just
occasionally. I don't really actually. Yeah. Anyway, enough about me. Enough about my manky dressing gown.
Well, do you? Do you, Mark?
No, but we do have a buy me a coffee page, and if anybody does want to buy us a pint, you're
nice segue. Where are we? Yes.
I mean, we can discuss sending you sexy pictures as well, if that's something you'd like.
We can discuss it. Yeah, okay. So what are you looking for in the old sexy pictures department? No, let's not go there. Let's not go there. Oh wait, hold on. Something from Gordon Strachan. I got the pot of rebel flesh ooze. Well, okay, we're on to Christmas. Okay, Gordon can start. I got the pot of rebel flesh ooze with Matt Smith bits one Christmas. What teenager wants a pot of translucent white gunk sitting about in their room?
It's getting very sexual. It's a proper saucy Christmas special. This. I saw that. I was like looking for just terrible Doctor Who merchandise when I was sending out tweets asking for people's terrible Doctor Who Christmas presents, and I found that, and I had no idea that had existed.
Wait, sorry, that's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
Oh,
it was a little. I can't share my screen. Well, no, I can't share my screen, but
I thought he was making a jizz joke. I didn't know that.
I mean, he's making a jizz joke, but based on an actual piece of Doctor Who merchandise.
Oh, is it? Okay. I thought somebody had walked in, saw like a beaker of jizz in his room, and he had to come up with like a really...
And he broke up a Matt Smith action figure and then just stuffed it in the jizz. Is that what you're saying?
Hey, I don't know. People will go long ways to saving face,
No, it's an actual piece of Doctor Who merchandise.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
But we've had some listeners tell us in advance. So if you bring up the
this is the first one.
Luke from Lost in Gallifrey, this fucker, which was I think this. I don't know how big that was now. I can't remember, but a proper doll of the Dalek Sec hybrid.
Was it 9 inches? Was it like it was like that big? Which
because the figures are about 6 inches, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Yeah. Next.
Dylan Reese says, a Sonic lipstick and Doctor Who cookie dough. In the mid-2000s, people would buy me any old shit with a logo on it. I took a load of it to a charity shop. My girlfriend at the time saw it in the window and bought it all back for me.
Oh,
that's amazing. I love that so much.
I do remember the Sonic lipsticks.
Yes.
Because I worked, so our mutual friend Martin used to run a Doctor Who toy shop in Edinburgh, Voga it was called, and I used to work there round about series 1, 2, 3, that kind of Torchwood Sarah Jane. So I remember all of these things coming through. I don't think I'd actually watched the Sarah Jane Adventures at that point.
Right,
so when
okay.
Sonic lipsticks through, I was like, oh, for fuck, really? Okay.
DJ Alpha T on Twitter got given Eclectic Gypsy, an unauthorized biography of Doctor Who. Now, I don't know if that's an unauthorized biography of the character Doctor Who or of the television program itself, but what a name. What a name for a book.
Like, so why call it that? Why call it eclectic? The words eclectic.
That's like one of those phrases like cosmic hobo that nobody really actually uses.
I know, but at least cosmic hobo is associated enough with the show that if it's an unauthorized, if it's completely unlicensed, you can still probably get a eclectic gypsy. Has anyone? This is for the comments. Has anyone ever used the words eclectic gypsy in Doctor Who?
Can you describe Doctor Who to me in 2 words? Oh, I'd say he was a bit of an eclectic gypsy, if I was honest.
And why have they got the arrows at the top, making it look like he's a fat eclectic gypsy? I mean, it looks like we're dealing with a size thing. Okay, do you know what?
Very odd. Very odd. Rassilon's trousers. This was pretty dismal, mainly because out of the little read of the book. Mainly because of the line, there were some strong stories throughout Davison's second series, most notably Arc of Infinity. So these people, how do they get published? How do they get published? Also describes the Two Doctors as an absolute classic.
Does it? By who? By who?
Craig Cabell?
Cable. Okay.
Moron. Sorry, Craig, if you're watching. I remember Derek telling me this story once, that he got Trial of a Time Lord in the TARDIS tin on VHS.
Yes.
And if I remember rightly, I think on Boxing Day or something, he then just took it back and swapped it for a bunch of Pertwee VHSs. Quite right too, but something nicer from Millie Mackenzie. I've only ever received one Doctor Who present. It was the K9 Tales DVD box set from my brother. Right at the start of my fandom, I had just seen Series 8 of New Who on TV and was embarking on Series 1 to 7. So Invisible Enemy was my first classic. Still love it to this day. What an introduction.
Oh, okay. All right. Millie Mackenzie,
Invisible
or as we know her pen name, Craig Cable. All right.
Hey, I like the Invisible Enemy. I think I can't remember what I said in the episode. I think I said it was.
Oh fuck! Sorry, back.
Spoilers! Spoilers!
That was back to Thin Ice again. So I've got a couple of. Sorry, Andrew Shaw. The book also refers to the Blinking Angel. The Blinking Angel. I could just hear Tony Hancock's voice. I can just hear Red
Tony
Varney
Hancock
from
is the Doctor. Or what's on the bus? Yeah, I suppose. Yeah,
Reg Varney and on the buses.
Yeah.
That's
Blinking Angels. I could hear Bill Pertwee saying that. Those blinking angels.
Yes. Yeah. Walking in with his ARP warden hat. Yep, that's perfect.
But have you had any dodgy gifts in your time, Ben?
So no, not Christmas presents. But going back to working in Voga, I was there. I was the front line as all of that shit was coming out. We've talked about this before. I think the walkie-talkie or the Slovene.
Yeah. Where you were talking to Christopher Eccleston's crotch area, wasn't it? Is that not where they put the speaker?
It was. Yeah. So it was big. So it was before they brought figures out, and I think they thought maybe figures weren't enough for people so they had to do something else with it. So they came up with these huge figures. One of them, the Ninth Doctor, one of them a Slovene. They were also walkie-talkies. So you would just grab them by the middle and then hold the curvature of the body to your face and talk into them. So his crotch would probably
I'd forgotten about those.
But so cumbersome. One of my other favorite ones was there was a Dalek alarm clock, which woke you up with exterminate, which I was like, that sounds all right. And then I thought, like, there's going to be a child who every morning is waking up with a death chant, and it's like that kid is not growing up to be a contributing member of society. Every morning before they go to school, 7:25, exterminate. That is not a way to grow up. What else was there? There was just such weird stuff.
Do you know what I did like though? I remember getting this. I think it was Christmas. Was it Christmas 2005? The Battle Daleks. Do you remember the Battle Daleks? And it was like one. Basically there was like two Daleks that were remote control. I've sadly lost the remote controls, but I still have the Daleks. And basically what you would do was one of you would take one remote control, one of you would take the other remote control, and you would like fight. You would have sort of like a little Dalek fight and like shoot at each other. And it had like sensors on it. That was good fun for about 20 minutes. But it was good fun. I did enjoy it. That was nice. I remember the following year getting a K9 and a Cyberman helmet from my dad. I think he kind of felt bad for me because I got into Doctor Who as a kid, but obviously, apart from a few Daypol figures and some old targets and an annual you'd get in a charity shop, there wasn't really that kind of slew of merchandise that I had for like sort of like, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Power Rangers or, you know, anything like that, because it was this weird show that nobody watched anymore, really, apart from, you know, men 20 years my senior, you know, would meet in the pub.
Wow, okay. And if you want to find out what happened there, then head over to Mark's OnlyFans account and God help you. God help you. No, there was that. There was the Cyberman helmet. Wasn't it like, it was obviously for kids. It was obviously for kids to run around in. Because it was a voice.
It was quite heavy, though.
Really heavy. There was loads of like sharp, like plastic angles inside it. Like I remember putting it on to test it out. I just remembering like this kind of like jagged weight down on my head. And I was like, fucking hell.
It's a proper Cyberman experience. That's what it is.
Yes. But nobody, health and safety didn't exist back then. Didn't exist. Health and safety hadn't yet gone crazy.
But yeah, they were good times. Good times.
Yeah. Because there's nothing. Nothing now. There's nothing.
I think the most recent Doctor Who gift I got was either a little John Barrowman action figure from our good friend the Digestio filmmaker.
Little John Barrowman.
Or little John Barrowman, yeah. A little 6-inch John Barrowman, right? And a Jodie Whittaker doll, which my friend gave to me one Christmas, that her friend had bought her as a joke because she's not really that into Doctor Who. Right. And she was like, well, I might as well give it to somebody that wants it. And so she met me in a pub and handed me this, not boxed, not in a bag, just handed me this Jodie Whittaker doll, which I then just carried around with me on a pub crawl around Broadstairs. It's a very bizarre experience.
That is usually how Doctor Who gifts arrive into the hands of a fan, isn't it? Like somebody who gets something Doctor Who that they don't like, and they'll, oh, I know somebody. Yeah. They will usually hand it over like they're donating to a sick child, or they're passing over to some authority who will get rid of it for them, put it in a landfill. Don't know why I'm going with that. What's next?
It's speaking of Christmas presents, it's what you might have under your tree if you didn't buy it back in October. It's Fury from the Deep.
Fury from the Deep. Hold on, I'll do this fucking thing.
Nice.
I made them, so we're going to use them. Yes, Fury from the Deep. Let's do some stats. So, Fury from the Deep was written by Victor Pemberton and directed by Hugh David. It was 6 episodes broadcast between Saturday the 16th of March 1968 and Saturday the 20th of April 1968. It was watched by about, let's say, about 8 million, 7.5 to 8 million. The highest was for episode 1, 8.2 million. The lowest was for episode 5, 5.9 million. And that is it. That's it. That's the stats. There we are. Those are the stats. Professional. And I haven't even started on the wine yet. This is wow. Okay.
It's all right. It's live. It's pressure in it.
Get it together. So that is that was the stats. That was the paperwork. Now it's time for the fun.
Degsy's Where Did It Come game.
Hey, so it's my turn to go first, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
People bloody love Fury from the Deep, don't they?
Well,
do you know what, Ben? If you just turn your seat round slightly to my right. On this, there we go. It's almost like you're Victoria Waterfield.
All right, okay. I see with the background and stuff. Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, okay. I see what you mean. Yeah,
nice.
Okay.
Nice, very nice. People bloody love this, even though it doesn't exist. I think based on the Target novelization, I think has a big part to play in people's love of this. Watching the telesnaps, you can definitely see the appeal of it. Yes. I think it's a good story. I think I think he'll probably be one of the higher Troutons. I'm gonna go 63. 63. Let's go with that.
Oh, that sounds like it's wildly too high.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, I'm going to go for 150 because I think it's a great novelization.
Mm.
And I think there's certainly some evocative moments, which even with telesnaps come across really well.
Yeah.
And thankfully, one of the scariest moments, one of the best moments in the entire thing still survives. The oak and quill creeping into the room and breathing gas on a lady while she's brushing her hair. You know what? It seems weird when I say it like that.
But it is weird. There's a lot of weird stuff in this, but we'll come to that.
There's a lot of weird stuff. But it feels, to me, it feels a little derivative of everything else in that series.
Sure.
170, I think.
170. Interesting. Yeah. Well, golden envelope time. It's a very well-worn golden envelope. I think, dog-eared a little bit. But Ben, if you'll play the Exestio Funmaker intro music.
He's cheeky, he's deaky, he's leaky and squeaky. He once got a letter from Colin Baker. He's the Exestio Funmaker.
He sure is. He sure is. In the poll, Fury comes in at number 75.
Okay.
So I was close. Close for no cigar. So that's currently 5-1 to me.
Okay. I want to say it's all to play for, but this feels like you're already heading away from it.
We're 3 episodes in. You might get a direct hit and then you get 3 points,
Okay.
That's the fun of Degsy's where did it come game. It sits between Impossible Astronaut Day of the Moon at 74 and Rose at 76. And finally, fucking hell, Christmas Dicks. I, the Exestio Funmaker, require you to give me your best impression of Richard E. Grant. Now,
okay.
I mean, which Richard E. Grant?
What do you mean?
Alternative Ninth Doctor?
Yeah, the Schalke Doctor.
Great Intelligence? Withnail?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
We want the finest wines known to humanity, and we want them here, and we want them now. That's just a general posh voice, but that's the best you're going to get. So
that was more Uncle Monty does an impression.
It was a bit Uncle Monty, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Monty, you single cunt.
Yeah, but he does have that kind of breathlessness sometimes, doesn't he?
Yeah.
See, he's really shit as the Schalke Doctor. Like, I remember watching, I remember, because there was a point where that was an official continuation of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I went to the Doctor Who convention, the Panopticon convention down in London, where they had advanced copies of that big Doctor Who, the Legacy book, the hard copy of it. And he was listed as the official 9th Doctor, the Schalke Doctor. Even though over that weekend, after they printed up the books, it was announced that RTD would be bringing back actual Doctor Who. But watching the Schalke episodes, it's obviously a guy who's never read the script before, just reading the script, getting all the timings wrong. I mean, I guess this is pretty fitting, since that's what we'll be talking about when we get to the Fury from the Deep animation. it's animation.
Derek's just, you've not even done your impression yet, and Derek's already decided.
Okay. What would be? What did he say? I have a robot version of the Master is in my TARDIS. Forget it. I can't do it. But I win, so
you win.
Ben
wins. It's fun. It's all right. I'm winning Diggs' Ready to Come game, so fuck you.
He's a very difficult person to do an impression of, because it can really easily fall into Hugh Grant territory. Isn't it? Yeah. Well, listen, this has been great fun, Mark. So you take care, and Okay, let's do it then. So where are we? It's list of correspondence now, isn't it?
Yes.
For Fury from the Deep. So here we are. We start off with
Luke at the Lost on Gallifrey podcast, who did a really good podcast actually about the Blu-ray of this around the time it came out, which I'd recommend checking out. I love Fury, but the animation put me off a bit. I'm not sure why. It's mad that a 60s Doctor Who story about evil seaweed works so well and is paced so well for a six-parter. It has one of the very best companion departures and is full of great quotes, but I prefer the Telesnap version. Well, we'll come to the differences, I think, as we discuss this. Deborah says, I knew almost nothing about Fury before the animation, and that feels like the optimal way to view it. It's creepy enough to avoid getting dull, but I don't think it has enough depth, ironically, to be one I'd revisit often. People were right to highlight Victoria's goodbye scenes. Jeff Waddle, haven't seen Fury from the Deep, as I find the animations underwhelming, but the book's a cracker, the soundtrack even more so, in what is really just a base under siege story with a few bits of seaweed. And I love this, the obligatory 60s BBC foam party. I just love the idea of a 1960s BBC foam party, as if it's like, and now on BBC One, we go live to Ayia Napa, where the BBC Radiophonic Workshop presents their foam party. It would be like just amazing.
By Alan Wicker.
But the three regulars on top four make this a belter. And who the hell doesn't like Mr. Oak and Mr. Quill? Well, I'll tell you, Jeff. It's Dylan Reese, if I've scheduled this right. Yes. Fury from the Deep is an excellent animation and soundtrack, hugely atmospheric, with lots of great ideas at the core of it. Ideas so good, Victor Pemberton used them both previously in the slide and later in the Pescatons. However, if this story ever shows up, I'm not sure it would deliver. When the censor clips appeared, I couldn't help feeling underwhelmed. The mysterious Oak and Quill were just two camp men with their mouths open, and the monster was yet another foam machine with a bit of seaweed in it.
Two camp men with their mouths open is very possibly the episode title.
I do like Dudley Simpson's Foam Party as a episode title as well. Yeah. I've not J.R. Southall. I've not had time to watch the Fury from the Deep animation yet, but my recollection of the novel and reconstruction is that it's a fairly nice, almost soap opera-esque, character-driven story, let down a bit by its length, aren't we all, JR? And by a monster that doesn't really stand comparison with the rest of season 5. Decent, but not the classic it's often cited as. And Paul McAvoy, Fury's good. All the criticism for it is valid, but if I'm honest, I've always gotten a kick out of New Troughton since Enemy of the World proved to be an absolute belter if you just watched it. Yeah?
Yeah. Yes.
That's fair.
Yes.
So this is the first time you've experienced Fury from the Deep, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. I guess it's worth talking about how we.
Sure. Well, actually, we should do drinks.
Yes.
We should do drinks.
What do I got? Just some red wine, which much.
Dada's back again.
Real Dada. I just like a bit of red wine. So that's my justification. It's nothing to do with the story. I was going to go like a whole kind of like, it'll cause a bit of fury from my deep and a bit of gas. But I was like, oh, fuck it. I just want to drink red wine. So
yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Well, I've got just a pint, to be honest. However, this and the previous beer that I drank, so this is an IPA, are brewed by my local pub, Xylo, which is on Margate Seafront, because this story was filmed sort of 25-minute walk away from my flat. So that's quite nice. All the location stuff on the beach was filmed at, I think, at Kings Bay and Westgate. Not Westgate, sorry, Kingsgate and Botany Bay, in just kind of on the outskirts of Margate. So I walk along those beaches quite often. So I'm quite disappointed that this story doesn't exist in a kind of, in the original format, because it'd be lovely to kind of see it. Because the little glimpses that you see are great, But a funny thing to note, in the animation, there is a bit where they kind of do like a kind of aerial shot of the cliffs. And at the top of the cliffs, that kind of suggests that's where Euro Sea Gas is based. And And presumably their inspiration from that for the animators is there's a sewage works on the top of those cliffs that you walk past to get to Botany Bay. So I love the fact that the animation has canonized the sewage works just near Botany Bay as a Doctor Who location. That's quite funny to me.
Yeah, okay.
But there we go.
I like when stuff on screen is the thing in real life. It's not something doubling as it's not Scotland, but it's in Wales. It's actually you can go and it's there.
Yeah.
I like that. So because it's all Shingle Beach with you, isn't it? Like it's I don't know why I said it like that. It's all
it's all fucking Shingle Beach with you, isn't it? Jesus. Yeah. Come on, when are you gonna get it's not actually, no, it's mostly sand around here.
Because it feels like it's Shingle Beach just from like the image just I'll overlay it. Like it looks
yeah.
rocky. So one of the ways I encountered this story was listening to the novelization on Audible, read by David Troughton, and I live quite near Shingle Beach on the coast of Ireland. So for those opening chapters, I went down and sat on the beach to listen. Nice. The TARDIS landing, them coming ashore in the boat, which them coming ashore in the boat because they go back to the TARDIS lab halfway through this serial in order to test out the seaweed. They make no mention of the fact that they would have had to have gone on getting back into the boat. And then...
So it's interesting. So in the animation, I don't think it does a similar thing. It's just like they're kind of just back in the TARDIS.
Yeah.
But at the end, they row in the boat to get back to the TARDIS.
Yeah,
but
the TARDIS is still on the sea. Yeah.
Telesnaps. The suggestion is in the stage directions that the TARDIS is washed ashore. Because it's something like the Doctor and Jamie. Victoria watches the Doctor and Jamie like trudge away along the beach back to the TARDIS.
Right. Yeah, there is a telesnap. It's a weird telesnap because it's shot low, so you can see Deborah Watlin's legs, and there does look like there's a box-shaped thing on the beach just ahead of where the Doctor and I'm gonna have to look at that again. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because I think in the original version, I think the TARDIS has just been washed up onto the beach again.
Yeah, because otherwise it just seems weird that they would row to the TARDIS.
Well, see, this is one of the issues with the animation is that when it does do that, they kind of have the kind of goodbye, and then there's this quite long the Doctor and Jamie are kind of rowing back to the TARDIS. Yeah. And then they have that scene. Whereas I think in the kind of telesnap where, Victoria watches them get into the TARDIS and then the Doctor and Jamie are in the TARDIS, they have that scene. It's a bit more immediate and a bit more impactful. My issue with the animation is that it does drag things out a little bit in terms of both the image and the runtime. So this, obviously, 1960s BBC TV was all shot 4:3 aspect ratio. So your kind of standard old telly aspect ratio. The animation, they open it up to widescreen. And it seems like once they open it up to widescreen, that was the ambition. It was like, well, yeah, let's open it up. That'll give us more room. But then they kind of don't really know what they want to do with the frame. So there's a lot of empty space.
Sure.
On display. And I felt that kind of undermines the atmosphere of the story. Because when you watch the telesnaps, there's a lot of kind of enclosed spaces, a lot of I think the best example to cite is at the end of part 5, I think it is. Yeah, the end of part 5. Where they go into the impeller room and the seaweed's like battering against the glass and everybody's in there and they're all kind of huddled together watching this happen. And it's like quite panicked, quite claustrophobic, urgent, In the animation, they kind of all just stand as if they're kind of socially distanced, quite lifelessly.
Yeah.
And it really loses something in that. And I suppose, I think we had this discussion when it came out. I think I mentioned it to you. And when I was writing the review, I was like, oh, I feel like I'm being too negative. And everybody on Twitter is like talking about how great it is to have Fury from the Deep back and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you'd said something very insightful about how you see the animated reconstructions. I don't know if you can remember what you said, because I don't want to put words in your. I don't want to just say it if you remember it. But you said,
no. I'm a big drinker, so
am I. But you'd said that you kind of see the animated reconstructions in a similar way to the Target novelizations.
Right. Okay.
Which is that they're not there to kind of be a kind of word for word, shot for shot remake of something. They're there to be an interpretation, like a new interpretation of that story, of that work. And I think that's a really mature way to look at it. A really kind of, I think that is the right way to look at it. And that is why all my animated reconstructions are on the same shelf as my Target novelizations.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's smart. So sounds like something I'd say. Yep. Yeah. I understand why when these releases come out, they also have I don't know, and like reconstructions as well.
Yeah,
and
they're really comprehensive sets. They're really worth the money.
Yeah.
You
because
get
the definitive package of Fury from the Deep, if not
because we're never getting it back.
Yeah.
Basically.
But
until Philip Morris dies.
Yeah.
If we'd had the time, I would have written a hilarious Christmas Carol pastiche involving Philip Morris and three ghosts. But who has the time? Maybe next Christmas.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I didn't watch the animation. I think because you had seemed a bit kind of like this doesn't really do justice to what I think the episode is.
Sure.
So what did I do? On Daily Motion, there is you can find a loose cannon reconstruction, which is, I think loose cannon are the definitive reconstructions, telesnaps.
Yeah.
In addition,
who is loose cannon? Is it one guy or is it?
Nah, it's like a bunch of guys. It's like
because the guy that does the telesnap reconstructions for the Blu-rays.
Yeah.
Because obviously they've got that. It's good. I mean, I watched that for this because I'd seen the animation quite recently. I'd written about it. I'd watched it in color and in black and white, and I was like, well, actually, let's watch the fucking original thing. But no, I mean, you get a pretty good impression of what the story would have been.
Absolutely.
You know.
But the one I watched had the loose cannon reconstruction timed up with the narration that Tom Baker provided for the mid-90s cassette releases, the Missing Adventures cassette releases, where it's the Fourth Doctor narrating a memory of his time as the Second Doctor.
Yeah, that's such a weird. I'd forgotten that they'd done that until you sent me that yesterday. Because it's so weird to me to get Tom Baker, because I mean, Tom Baker and past Doctors, as we both know, as I'm sure as we all know, sort of watching this and listening to this, not always. Not always.
Yeah, but it was back in the mid-90s. Well, it was back in 1992, 1993. So it was the proper, like, so it was an anniversary, I guess, but it was that hopeless kind of anniversary where by that point I think everyone understood Doctor Who was not coming back.
Yeah, sure.
And I think Tom Baker was a bit more malleable to appear doing these things because at the same time wasn't John Pertwee recording like the Ghosts of End Space and all that kind of stuff? Yeah,
maybe. Well, I was going to say also he'd become quite good friends with John Nathan Turner as well.
Yes.
They weren't working together. There's that. Have you seen that incredible photo of Tom Baker, Nick Courtney, and John Nathan Turner at like a birthday party for John Nathan Turner or something?
No.
Our good friend Richie tweeted it, and he's just like, Jesus, you can smell the reek of booze off this picture because it's just Tom Baker, Nick Courtney, and John Nathan Turner just like kind of sweating out and just kind of like arms around each other, and you know, I think like someone's holding a cigar or something like that. So I mean, obviously by that point they were quite good friends, and I think JNT had kind of worked out how to get the best out of Tom.
Well, there's not a lot of narration. I mean, when you listen to the one that Fraser Hines did, the kind of official BBC release on CD, that's quite comprehensive. Every scene has some sort of scene-setting narration. With Tom Baker's one, it's just every now and again. So there's not a lot. So I can't imagine that he was in that booth for more than 2 hours recording all that stuff for the 6 episodes. But what that meant is, and with the Audible Target novelization read, like I feel like I got a good insight into the intention of the story, and that was enough for me. I just the animations are just not really. I felt really underwhelmed when we went to the BFI to see the Power of the Daleks a couple of years ago. Sure. Like I liked it, like I certainly liked it, but I was like, and I kind of have, and it's been absolutely fine watching like an odd animated episode on like The Invasion or Reign of Terror or something like that. I just even looking at clips online, because like whenever these things come out, they have key scenes that they release and they're animated, and I was just like, I watched the scene of the Doctor and Victoria listening to the heartbeat in the pipe from episode 1, and it looks like what it is, which is some animation which has been put over the top of a soundtrack, and so there's a lot of kind of weird, as you say, like weird dead space in widescreen, but there's also like a kind of just weird dead movement while they wait for the next bit of the soundtrack to happen, and they time it up to that. So it's like it is not for me.
I think I do wonder if it's I mean, I think the guys at Lost in Gallifrey ends up doing this as well. You just spend so much time talking about like the reconstructions, you kind of miss the story itself. So we will get to that in a minute. But yeah, I think there is something in that, isn't there? It's like, I think it kind of sometimes can fall between two stools. It wants to be its own original animated Doctor Who story, but at the same time, it also doesn't want to scare the horses and be too like distant from what you see on the telesnaps or what you can hear happening or what you know. And I think maybe there needs to be a bit more, just having a bit more kind of commitment in the fact it's an animated retelling rather than a reconstruction. Maybe that would solve some of those issues. Because I know exactly what you mean. There is a lot of kind of waiting around for the next actor to say a line, which, sure, studio bound telly in the 1960s, there absolutely is a lot of that. But an actor like Patrick Troughton was always doing something. You know what I mean?
You just know that you're not seeing some business, some facial nuance, or you know, prop usage or movement, or there's just something missing. There's something missing, and it's just not for me.
Deborah's got an interesting point. I don't know if you want to bring that up and read that out.
I can bring that up. Sorry, okay. So we both just sat down to read it there. I can understand your issues with the animations, but as someone who finds the reconstructions unwatchable, fair enough. As an interpretation of the story, it makes it so much more accessible for me. I don't.
That's me, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't want to judge anybody if they do like it. It just isn't for me, and I'm sorry if I've come across as negative or attacking the elements of fandom who absorb that kind of release.
Well, because the thing is, like, you don't want to be kind of gatekeeper, do you? Because I mean, at the end of the day, I don't like watching reconstructions. You know, as we have talked about on this podcast, that's the thing. I will go above and beyond to avoid having to watch a fucking telesnap reconstruction. And to be honest, I find it a bit of a slog for this, because what I like to do with an On the Time Lash preparation is just sit down and watch something and write occasional notes. But the problem you've got with a telesnap reconstruction is you're kind of constantly watching the screen for the captions, and then you're suddenly taken aback by kind of sudden movement, and you're like, "Oh shit!" That's actually proper footage from the story.
Yeah, they put a clip in, you know.
Yeah, and it is a tricky experience, and it's hard work. I don't think I defy anybody to turn around and tell me that they watch telesnap reconstructions as enjoyment.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Because
no,
it's not
okay.
enjoyable.
I just wanted to say there's a place for animations, and yeah, there absolutely is.
They're all on my shelf. I mean, I buy them every time they come out.
Because I guess
they are good. But
what you're saying is this can be sat down and watched and enjoyed, where a reconstruction telesnaps cannot be. So,
exactly, yeah. It feels like work, and I don't think. I mean, obviously, doing a Doctor Who podcast, it kind of is work. But yeah, if you wanted to sit down and watch some Doctor Who, you don't want to be, watching still images and sort of trying to make out the soundtrack and trying to imagine in your head how that thing would look. So I totally get, and this is why I think your Target novels analogy was quite apt.
sure.
Is that fundamentally the reason Fury from the Deep is at number 75 is because of the Target novelization.
Yeah.
And because of some of the existing footage of Mr. Oak and Mr. Quill. It's not because people have poured over telesnaps and, synced up with Tom Baker's narration, or it's the Targets. And that's fine. And that's perfectly valid. And that's good. But yeah, I think those kind of like snobby gatekeepers of that, oh, well, you must watch the telesnap reconstructions, I don't know why why I'm sort of doing my kind of horrible gatekeepery. See, my gatekeepery voice.
It was an amazing Richard E. Grant. I think you should win Dicks, that round of Dicks.
No, but my gatekeepery voice, sorry, there was Art House Cinema Gatekeeper, not Doctor Who Gatekeeper. Because a Doctor Who Gatekeeper would be like... I was about to do an impression of Roddy there. I'm going to just leave this. Let's move on. Let's move on. But the story itself, Ben, how did you find that?
I thought it was, as I said, quite derivative and maybe a little. See, this is what I like, because I will sometimes see that happening. And it's the podcast, and we can edit that bit out. Now, the whole world, all of On the Time Lash fandom is just saw you glass up, getting a new beverage from your wonderful assistant behind the camera.
Yes, my glamorous assistant.
It's 6 episodes. There's some great moments. Like every episode has like a really outstanding moment, which gets you to the next episode. But it's kind of derivative. It's classic base under siege, but it's got the head of the base who's a pig-headed, annoyed.
Do the voice.
No, it's not that he's a spy voice. It's more that kind of like
he's a saboteur voice.
He's a saboteur, but it's like that General Cutler. It's the leader Clent. It's Professor Stallman. It's all these kind of people that you just go, how the fuck did you get in charge of something important?
Well, I don't know if that's quite
psychological makeup,
Yeah, I don't know if that's quite fair. I do think what I like about this as a base under siege is that I actually quite like Victor Maddern as Robson. I think Victor Pemberton has kind of written enough character reasons for the way that he is. And the reason he is the way that he is purely isolation and working on his own on these rigs for so long that he's forgotten how to kind of interact with human beings.
Well, there's an extra element, which is in the Target novelization, which the reason he seeks out that isolation is because he was driving a car, had a car crash, which killed his wife.
Oh, that's interesting.
And that's why Robson goes to the middle of the sea for 4 years in order to avoid people. And I guess that's why he is so het up about people judging him making a mistake, his reputation being challenged because he's running away. I mean, it's not in the episode, but it is in. No. And I guess that's one of the reasons why the novelization is held in such high esteem, because it really opens the characters. Like Maggie Harris is, I think, played incredibly well in the story. She takes on a whole new level of like just sympathy when you read about just being taken over. In the scene where she's like walking into the sea and like as she is submerged, the last vestiges of Maggie Harris as a person just completely drain away as well. Like that kind of stuff in the which I would say maybe patch out a whole month for maybe not reading it. It's 25 hours as an Audible.
Is it for a Target?
For a Target, because it's huge. It's like it was a double-sized Target when it was released. And it's 25 hours of reading from David Troughton.
Wow.
Which is great. Like his take on Patrick Troughton is better than anything Jacob Dudman has ever secretly dreamt. Like it's...
But yeah, I mean, the thing that because I only watched this for the first time this year when the Blu-ray came out, and I'd heard everybody's love of it. But the thing that did stay with me was the character stuff. Was the fact that this is a Base Under Siege story, which isn't just. I mean, we talked about this. I think what one was it? What story were we talking about? I can't remember now. Where we talked about the moon. I think it was maybe when we did our Sleep No More episode and we had everybody involved. And we talked about how in the moon base it's just like, I'm a slightly sarcastic French man. Yeah. I'm a slightly bolshy British man. That kind of stuff. Whereas this does feel like people have actual motivations and actual texture to their characters and stories. Now, there is that whole thing about Harris who just cons every episode. Says, but my wife is very ill. I'm worried about my wife.
He reminds me of the end of Monty Python's Life of Brian, where everyone's going, my name's Brian, and there's like there's Terence Baylor, my friend Amelia's grandfather, and he goes, my name's Brian, and so's my wife. It reminded me of that. Like every time he says wife, it's like wife. I mean, I appreciate the character arc of a man or of a character standing up to a belligerent authority because it emotionally, romantically matters to him. But yeah, there's a lot. And I guess this is weird because, I mean, this 6 episodes, 6 weeks, but it only really takes place over, 2, 3, 4 hours? Less than a day. It's less than a day, isn't it? In terms of start to finish. Yeah, because everything is pretty continuous. There's no sense that anyone's getting any sleep or...
I think it's a couple of days, certainly.
It feels continuous. It feels like it's 6 episodes of the same crisis, the same emergency. But yeah, you're right. He's walking in every scene going, have you seen my wife? Yeah, there's a lot of that. Which makes it, I mean, it's weird that Victoria gets settled with them at the end. I mean, I really appreciate the groundwork that is put in to make it really quite emotional, her departure. But then they do that classic...
Really give time over to it.
Yeah, they do. Like, she's really wrestling with it. But they then do the classic Doctor Who of, there's people either married off to someone that they never previously showed any romantic inkling with, or but this is the case of that. You're just emotionally dumped with a couple.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reasons for her departure are really well realized, and you're right. She's grappling with it for pretty much the whole story, in a way that's quite rare. I think the last time really that Doctor Who did that is probably Ian and Barbara. Yeah, I've not seen the Mythmakers. I've not seen the Savages, but I'm pretty confident in that being. It's the last time.
Yeah, it's not. The first Doctor. There's not that series. There's not a lot of.
It's just like see ya.
Poured over. Yeah. There's a lot of that. It's like, well, thanks for everything, Doctor.
Yeah. Obviously, we had that with Ben and Polly. It's just, can we just stay here? Yeah, sure. See ya.
Yeah.
Oh, the TARDIS has disappeared. It's like we're on to the next story.
Yeah.
So it is quite, and also just the fact that this stops. The story stops about 8 minutes before the end.
Yeah.
For like decompression time and characters kind of responding to what they've experienced, which is something Doctor Who never does. Yeah. Really. very rarely, maybe in the new series a little bit, but it's a very rare thing. And I think that's purely because I do think Victor Pemberton has populated the Euro Sea gas base with a cast of characters that you kind of care about.
So I wonder if, because he is also an actor, he wrote a script and populated it with roles that he, as an actor, might appreciate somebody providing for him.
Yeah, possibly.
There's a psychology that's gone into the writing as well. Now, he was primarily a writer supplementing his income with little bit part acting jobs, but you've got to pick up chat. You've got to pick up just, like backstage attitude along the way.
Yeah.
And that's got to factor into the writing. So whilst I was like, this feels very like something like the Ice Warriors, it doesn't feel as two-dimensional as the Ice Warriors.
No, not at all.
And the Ice Warriors
the Moon Base
is boring. Like the Ice Warriors is boring, I think. And this, broadly, it looks and feels the same, but it isn't. There's something better about the kind of the human connections which are being made and the human motivations.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, also, when Miss Jones turns up,
yeah,
is that the start of part 5?
It's part 5, yeah.
You are a bit like, oh, thank God, a woman that isn't constantly screaming or in danger. It's like somebody, like she's the one in charge.
Yeah,
and she's the only one that can get through to Robson as well.
Yeah, reasonable. Yeah, and there's a great line. There's a great line where the doctor says something and they don't know if they should believe it or not, and she says, "Well, he's been right all this other times," and he's like, "It's nice to be trusted."
I love that. I love that so much. Yeah,
I love when someone just with a clear sense just walks in and goes, "All right, who's that?" Well, that guy. Let's listen to him.
He knows what he's doing. Yeah. Because I do think that, you're right. I think I've forgotten the name of the actress now, but I think Maggie Harris is fascinating as a character.
Maggie Harris is played by June Murphy. Are you talking about Maggie Harris? Or are you talking about Megan Jones?
Yeah. No, I don't. Megan Phillips is played by Margaret John, isn't she?
Margaret John is Megan Jones. June Murphy is Maggie Harris.
Sure, but she is constantly kind of just like, but my wife.
Yeah.
Please, somebody help my wife.
It feels like that before we arrive in that story, there's probably a whole litany of the rest of the people on that base hating that couple. Just just that couple bring fucking drama everywhere, in every room, into every social occasion. Everyone else is on their own, but there's a couple, and it's like the ultimate sitcom marriage. It's like George and Mildred have just shown up on the base.
But so it's really refreshing when she turns up, and you're right. She kind of just goes, "This guy knows what he's talking about." That's good, because I do feel that Victoria's quite. Look, Victoria Waterfield. I think there's a lot of good.
Mark Scott is. Let's get real, guys.
I did my kind of like. Let me just.
Let me just share something with you here.
I think Victoria as a character, it's not great. I think she gets a good exit. I do think you're right in the sense that I don't think there's much agency in her departure. She wants to leave, but it's not a case of, okay, I'm going to leave the TARDIS because I'm sick of fucking landing in these miserable situations. I'd probably be the same, to be honest.
Yeah.
Sure, the wonders of the universe and all that kind of thing. But really, it's, okay, our friend would like to leave us. Can we leave her with you? Is that all right? Should I just look after her like she's your child? That'd be really great. Cheers, thanks. Like, she doesn't kind of really get choice in it, and she is quite infantilized throughout. And I think probably throughout her whole tenure. But then is that just that kind of weird thing that you get in, I mean, I was about to say old telly, but to be honest, it still happens now. That weird thing where you cast actors that are about 2 or 3 years older than the roles they're supposed to be playing, so that it just seems really weird that everybody's treating them like a child.
Yeah.
Because there is something about Jamie and Victoria, certainly in this, and in other stories, I'm sure as well, where they're kind of presented as, because in fact, somebody literally says, "What, those 2 teenagers and that old man?"
Yeah, which feels like a hangover because this was originally pitched in 1964.
Yes, yeah, Pemberton's been like pitching this for ages, hasn't he? By this point,
and I'm wondering if that was a lot of this was just like that original script that was handed into David Whittaker, and so that old man, because Troughton is not an old man, is he? I mean, like that doctor is not supposed to be old.
No.
So I'm like, okay, well, have they literally just left a line in from that first 1964 version that they pitched and was rejected? That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Although it does survive in the novelization as well.
Right,
So
okay.
Pemberton, at any rate, must have went, Troughton is well old. Even though he's only in his 50s, I think, like early 50s.
I'm a big fan of the... this is pointless, but I'm a big fan of the Yakuza series of video games. And in that, you play this guy who's like a former like Yakuza. And he's only about 20, 30 years old. Maybe about 30 years old. And whenever you bump into some punks on the street that want to have a fight with you, they're just like, "Shut up, old man. I'm going to fight you." And I'm like, "Old man? You look the same age." It's just that weird thing. I think at this point in Doctor Who, and maybe up until Tom Baker, well, I suppose not John Pertwee because he's fucking flinging himself around the place. But yeah, the Doctor as an old man is still kind of part of the format, even though Troughton, I wouldn't call him an old man. He's a kind of impish uncle.
Yeah.
More than your more than your kind of sage grandfather.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
It is weird.
Listen, we're approaching 10 o'clock. We have...
Should we wrap this up?
I think it might be an idea. I mean, I'm enjoying this. I'm having a wonderful time, but I'm just feeling like we've done 2 hours. This is more on the time, Lash, than people are willing.
Well, and also because normally we would talk for about 2 to 3 hours and then cut loads of shit out.
Yeah, and this is the shit,
and we don't have the luxury of that. So yeah, all right.
So what? Okay, yeah. I mean, let's bring it in rather than specifics. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite scenes?
I think there's loads of good stuff in this. You said it earlier on. There's enough incident in each individual episode that kind of keeps the story going along quite nicely. Yeah. I really like. There's some really strange images in this, which thankfully kind of survive through the telesnaps, so you can kind of get a good impression of what they were going for. I think the end of part 3 is brilliant. Where Maggie Harris and Robson are standing on the beach, and having this really odd conversation about returning to the sea and and being part of that, and so she just walks out into the sea. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, even with the telesnaps, it looks great. It looks chilling.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. I mean, because the surviving footage looks amazing. On the Blu-ray. Like, it's just really crisp and that crisp, beautiful 16mm film. It's great. Really, I can't wait until the point at which we can start getting those Blu-ray box sets of the Hartnell and Troughton years. Yeah. With presumably the telesnap reconstructions and the animations thrown in. Because I think it will clean up really nicely. Yeah. So I really like that. I really like the end of part 5 as well. Where the Doctor and Jamie get onto the rig and Robson's just there,
Yeah, he walks out
standing in foam.
Yeah.
And he's just like, "Join us, Doctor."
Yes, we've been waiting for you.
It's great. So yeah, I think I think this is one of those Doctor Who stories that has absolute belting cliffhangers.
Yes, it does. Yeah. I love Oak and Quill. Sorry, Dylan Reese. I love Oak and
I like
Quill.
them too. I think it's one of the strange, because thankfully that scene still exists.
Still exists.
It's so bizarre.
I remember seeing that once when I was beginning to get sick from something. And I remember having a really sweaty, tortured, sick night where all I could see was like the bulging eyes and the open mouth as it's leaning towards Maggie Harris. I remember that, and it is genuinely for me one of the most chilling moments in Doctor Who, seeing that image. Because just the way the eyes kind of bulge out and the mouth and the teeth are all blackened, and then you've got that weird split between the two mouths, the edit really fast paced between the two mouths.
And there's a lot of kind of cross-fading and things like that. And it's a really odd, it's kind of quite...
The music that accompanies them as well, Oak and Quill. I mean, they're based on Laurel and Hardy. They're a sinister, murderous Laurel and Hardy. And you get a sense of that March of the Cuckoos, famous Laurel and Hardy music, with that kind of the weird, tinny electronic music. So I do like that.
Dr. Simpson, isn't it? It's one of his kind of early Doctor Who scores.
But what's weird is that Oak and Quill are not in it, really, for the rest of the story.
They kind of show up, don't they? They're kind of porting around in the background and things like that. But that's kind of their most memorable scene.
Yeah, but they don't do anything. They're not the baddies. They're not the main protagonists. They're not the main puppets for the greater force.
Because the next time you can properly see them is when Jamie has that fight with Quill.
Yeah.
In part 5, I think it's
5. Yeah. So it's weird. Like, I was thinking when I was watching part 3, I was like, Oak and Quill were set up in part 2. It's like, oh fuck, okay, finally we're getting a face to these baddies, and then nothing. And then I think they don't show up again until part 4, and then it's only like they're lurking around in the background of the control center. But the ones that you said as well, yep, I love that. I do love Victoria's exit.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly she gets 2 scenes with Jamie rather than the Doctor. She gets 2 scenes with Jamie. Jamie loves the adventure. This is him. He's into it. And it only really occurred to me is like all of the stories from this season link on to each other. They're all continuous. Like there's always a cliffhanger in the part 4 or the part 6, and it leads on to the next one. So I kind of do feel a sympathy for Victoria. It's the first time that she's really caught her breath after her father was killed in Evil of the Daleks. And every time, and she's went with, presumably, she thinks a surrogate father, a surrogate uncle in the Doctor. And then every single day of her life with the Doctor has been intense horror, like just fear and violence aimed at her. And I guess that's why it's so fitting that it's her screams that are her screams of terror.
Although it's not Debbie Watling's screams at the end.
Yeah, no, it wasn't, yeah.
Is it Margot Hayhoe? No. Or is it Daphne Dare? I can't remember who it was now.
Margot, yeah. I think it's,
because, she was ill on the day and she couldn't, she'd lost her voice, so she couldn't kind of go hell for leather with the screaming, which is quite funny.
So I like the exits, and I like the fact that the exit is made talking to the other young person. Rather than the Doctor pushing her hard or not one way or the other. Favorite performers?
I like like Victor Maddern and Margaret John as Robson and Jones. I think they're really good. They're based on the siege archetypes, the bullshit boss that doesn't want to take a telling, and the more stern authoritarian figure, but that also actually understands that the Doctor's a helpful influence. But I don't know, I think those actors just imbue those characters with a bit more personality than you usually get. And I know a lot of that's in the script.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I like them both in this. That you don't feel it's that kind of like he's a saboteur.
Yeah.
Throw him in the jail. Which I mean, there was a lot of that.
Jail.
But,
Yeah, there was, but it doesn't seem so noticeable as it usually does it?
no. And also, I mean, Harris is an annoying asshole. But my wife, that I'm kind of just like, yeah, you tell him, Robson.
Yeah, everyone feels a bit watery. Everybody feels a bit watery. And it's like, what? It's a gas corporation, but it feels like there's something a bit more sinister. I mean, they have a sniper on service.
Yeah.
That's never mentioned again. They never talk about that. It's
Armed guards.
We've got guards. We've got a guy who will dart out anyone who happens to be on the beach. That's never.
It's never mentioned again, is it? It's just like, don't touch that pipe.
Yeah, and I'm presuming this is in the future. So maybe Euro C gas is the kind of the Brexit that we're heading towards.
Well, I'll let you know.
10 days.
Yeah, I'm between a lorry park and Euro C gas. That's where I'm currently residing. In a ground zero for a new strain of COVID. I've made incredible life choices.
Oh, buddy, you're telling me. I mean, at least you have a job. I had a job in mass entertainment, and then you know what? Forget it. This is not how you end an episode, by just going,
yeah,
right, well, back to our shit
fucking
lives.
Ghost of Christmas Future.
Well, listen, okay, there we are. That is Fury from the Deep, talking about the future. We'll be back in 2021, and we're going to be looking at definitely Knock Knock, but I hadn't actually given any thought to what we wanted to pair Knock Knock with. What do you reckon, Mark?
Nor had I. So I don't know if listeners want, if anybody's still here. I don't know
if anyone's left, what should we watch with, what classic should we watch with Knock Knock?
I'd thought maybe something like Horror of Fang Rock, where it's a kind of spooky house.
Yep.
People getting bumped off one by one sort of thing. But I did have a thought about, for some reason, The Awakening was in my head, but I don't know why. So don't hold me to that.
The Awakening. So that is, that is kind of historical war games got wrong by an influence and like an evil alien,
an evil thing in a church,
with a big face in the wall of a church. Tegan has yet another relative who plays some sort of insignificant part of the plot. I do like the idea of Horror of Fang Rock. Have we not done that already?
I don't know if we have or not. I feel like we haven't.
Sure.
But maybe we did.
Sure.
Might have to go back and check.
We'll have to check that. Okay, well, we'll close it up.
Because there's nobody left in here.
Well, we do. We still have some eyes on us, which is nice, in the little little counter that I have in front of me. But we'll have a think. Because it's not Deborah. Oh, no, I can't. Where is she? Oh no, I can't remember all the stories you've already covered.
Neither can we, Deborah. Neither can we.
No need to say, oh no. We are the ones who should have come equipped with the information, but we have not done due diligence.
No, we have not.
I think it'll be a couple of weeks. We're going to get through Christmas and New Year, and then we'll be back. So we've got a little bit.
I don't know if we're going to
do social media.
I don't know if we're going to do Revolution of the Daleks. I don't know if I can be asked. I feel like because we're so close to doing the Chibnall era, that maybe it's just better to just wait until we come to it in about 10 weeks' time.
Well, I think with the next episode we'll say some stuff about it, like a little brief.
Sure.
How did you enjoy it? And I am looking forward to it.
It looks all right, to be honest. I watched the trailer and I was like, that looks like fun. I'm up for that.
And it's hello Maria. First comment.
Maria from Big Blue Box. One of my colleagues from Big Blue Box podcast. Another writer.
Whilst making a Christmas cake. I would love a Christmas cake right now. Conversely, Derek, do your Brian Blessed. It's Xmas. So Mark, have your Brian Blessed?
Gordon's alive. That's the best I've got.
Also,
because Amy's trying to sleep next door, I don't want to go full blessed.
Right, okay.
I might get in trouble.
Full blessed. Perfect. All right. Well, we'll come up with a few other kind of options. We'll put some stuff out on social media, maybe a little poll, see what people might want us. But if we haven't done Horror of Fang Rock, I'd be up for doing Horror of Fang Rock.
Yeah, I was thinking that if we hadn't done it, I'd quite like to watch it.
Because didn't we do it with like Sontag? I forget it. You know what? I don't know what we did it with. We'll find out.
I'm not sure.
So listen, everybody who is watching, thank you. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. We've enjoyed this.
It's Saturday night as well, you know?
It's been an experiment, maybe one that we would like to repeat, but I don't know. We'll keep it for special occasions, I feel like. This is not going to be the future of On the Time Lash, unless you want that, but you don't want that. But we might do this again. And if you've enjoyed us, if you've enjoyed anything that we've done across this year, and so many of you already have, so thank you very much for that. But if you would like to support the show with a donation, then you can do so at buymeacoffee.com/On the Time Lash. To those who already have done, thank you very much. You've been wonderful. You've been genuinely wonderful. You know who else has been wonderful? Fucking you, Mark.
Hey, thanks, man. You've been wonderful as well. I've really enjoyed this. I know we say this a lot, but this year has been a bit shit. But doing this podcast quite regularly and just getting to just still hang out with you, you know, and have a drink and a chat.
Great.
It's kept me sane.
I am happy for you. Well, if you're looking for a tier 4 buddy, Maria.
I know. I just saw that. Yeah.
Maybe this is what we're doing. Maybe this is the public service that society demands. Ben and Mark weekly on
entertaining the nation.
We have a little video to play.
We do. So, in true kind of Morecambe and Wise to Ronnie's Christmas special style, we've got a musical guest. Courtesy of our very good friend and regular listener, Andy Moore, and his band, The Modest. They're going to be playing a little Christmas song for us all. All I'll say is that if you enjoy it, if you could consider making a donation to Action for Children, so www.actionforchildren.org.uk at this, quite difficult time, I think, for everybody. That would be great. But yes, here is The Modest with their cover of 1964's hit single, I'm Gonna Spend My Christmas with a Dalek.
And then that'll be us gone.
And that'll be us. So Merry Christmas to all of you at home. Thank you so much for joining us. And here they are. It's The Modists.
Gonna spend my Christmas with a Dalek and hug him underneath the mistletoe. And if he's very nice, I'll feed him sugar spice and hang a Christmas stocking from his big lead toe. And when we both get up on Christmas morning, I'll kiss him on his chromium plated head, take him in to say hi to Mum and frighten Daddy out of his bed. Merry Christmas,
Merry Christmas,
Happy Christmas,
Happy Christmas,
Merry Christmas,
Merry Christmas
to you.
I wish to be your friend. Please may I have some more pudding and custard.
Gonna spend my Christmas with a Dalek, and if I make him happy he will stay. He'll go
Maybe in his hand.
and twiddle his eye, and then my little Dalek will say, Merry Christmas,
Christmas tree,
Happy Christmas,
mistletoe,
Merry Christmas
Merry
to
Christmas.
you. Merry Christmas.
I love you.
Happy Christmas.
You love me.
Merry Christmas
Merry Christmas.
to you.